Congratulations, you've made it through amputation day. I'm Stephanina and I'm going to walk you through what happens next. Minus the walking.
Horsey get you. Leg get horsey.
How long you're in the hospital depends on a lot of factors, like how you're doing, whether there were complications, your doctors, and insurance, things like that. However long you're at the hospital, the theme of that first week is going to be pain management, because yes, amputation hurts. If you want details on the pain specifically, I've got a video all about it. Oftentimes, the phantom pain takes a week or even more to set in. So that first week, most of your pain is probably going to be in the leg itself. You'll most likely be offered a lot of pretty heavy pain meds. This device helps prevent blood clots. It feels a lot like a blood pressure cuff.
Oh, something else that happened I forgot to mention. Last night at midnight of all times, they gave me an injection of blood thinner, and they did that in my abdomen. Not sure why the abdomen, not sure why at midnight. Kind of wish they'd done it sooner instead of when I'm trying to sleep, but hey, can't win them all.
For me, a typical day in the hospital post-amputation started with the night nurse introducing me to the day nurses at about 6 in the morning. I'd complain that they didn't let me sleep in, but most of the time I was awake anyway because my leg hurt. Sometime around the shift change, my vitals were checked, I was given meds and asked a bunch of questions about how I was doing. A doctor would check on me, breakfast would be delivered, and soon after that, it was time for the first round of physical therapy. This sequence of events is going to be repeated over and over throughout the day, so get used to it. I can't speak for all amputees, but my hospital days were a constant cycle of getting vitals checked, having doctors or nurses check on me, taking medication, and being visited by the physical therapist. I had PT about 3 times a day, plus some occupational therapy. In between all of those elements, visitors might periodically appear, depending on your hospital's visitation policy. Looking back, it would have given me more time to rest if I had only seen the people closest to me and had waited to visit other people until after I was feeling better. Anyhow, back to physical and occupational therapy. Exactly what they'll do varies a bit depending on your unique situation and what skills you bring to the table. I hadn't been able to walk for a long time prior to amputation, so I didn't really need someone to teach me how to transfer from my wheelchair to my bed or the toilet. In fact, when the nurse asked how I was going to get to the toilet on one foot, I said, "Hold my phone." Literally, I asked her to hold the phone so she could film a demo. And yes, my filmmaking career began in a hospital bathroom. Afterwards, I was flushed with excitement. The job of the occupational therapist is to help you develop skills you'll need in daily life, whether it's transferring in and out of your wheelchair to use the bathroom or even things like cooking. In rehab, my OT and I made cookies, but I'll get to that next week in a video about the pros and cons of going to a rehab center. Physical therapy was less fun. They were more focused on things like strengthening muscles than on important things like cookies. The exercises they gave me at the hospital were very basic and seemed aimed at preventing muscles from tightening up. Sometimes they took me on walks, like a puppy on a leash. They wanted to help me get a sense of my new center of gravity and my balance now that I'm lopsided. I think the leash around my waist was so they could help me if I started to fall, or maybe they were just afraid I'd run away. 2.5 days after amputation, my surgeon changed the bandages. If your pain meds are wearing off, you might want to ask for your next dose before changing the bandages, because ouch. I don't know why unwrapping the residual limb hurts so much. You'd think that releasing the pressure would feel good, but it was the polar opposite, and it was intense. The surgeon checked my stitches, then put on fresh bandaging. I'll link a short about how to wrap a stump in case you ever need to do it yourself. Another special visitor on day 3 was my prosthetist. He brought a device to keep my limbs straight in order to prevent a knee contracture. Rephrased, he didn't want my muscles to tighten up and shorten while I was recovering. So this weird tube thing kept my leg fairly straight and the muscles in a lengthened position. After the hospital, there were times when I used a simple splint instead, when I needed something less bulky, such as in the car. Not all prosthetists will come to the hospital or even give you something to prevent contractures. One prosthetist I considered said he wouldn't see me until a few weeks post-amputation. The provider I ultimately went with said he'd visit me once in the hospital, then again at home when I got out. I really appreciated that. Finding out just how much support your prosthetist offers is a good idea pre-amputation. Speaking of which, since every experience is different, please share yours in the comments if you're an amputee. It really helps when new amputees can hear more than one or two stories. And a quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. The information I'm sharing is based on my experience and what I've heard from medical providers and other amputees.
You are now looking at the ceiling I get to stare at, basically 24/7. Enjoy. At this point, it's just kind of a rest up type of a day. Stay on top of pain management, do a little PT. So that's basically what recovery is at this point, 24 hours in.
Hopefully you've now got a good sense of what the days are like in the hospital. Lots of check-ins with medical staff, lots of meds, lots of physical therapy. What you don't get a lot of is sleep. It's hard to sleep in the hospital, even if you aren't in pain, because nurses are periodically coming in. It's a strange environment, and there are monitors beeping. I wish I'd had a good audiobook to help me relax when I was struggling to sleep, but I didn't think about it until later. Two things that really helped my pain were muscle relaxants and stool softeners. The muscle relaxants are more obvious. The severed muscles kept spasming, which was causing a lot of my pain. I had to try a couple different varieties before I found the relaxer that worked best for me, but when I did, I felt like it made more of a difference than most of my pain meds. The stool softeners helped because other medications and anesthesia caused constipation. I think it was putting pressure on the nerves going down to my leg. Though counterintuitive, stool softeners really helped with my pain management. At that point, I wasn't having phantom pain, so it was the pain in my leg itself that was keeping me up. The phantom pain kicked in about a week post-op, and I've got a detailed video about what that was like if you're interested. Even before the phantom pain started, I remember the nights being intense.
Can I just say how much you guys are helping me? I know I haven't even posted the video, but just, I couldn't have made it if I hadn't pulled out the camera and felt like I was doing it for someone else. I feel kind of alone.
If you're someone who really needs a support person by your side, it'd be good to make sure you have a loved one on the night shift.
At this point, I am completely wiped out because of how painful it was last night. I think the pain spiked because we took off the dressing and put on the splint. I think just messing with the leg aggravated it, and that's why it was such a rough night. So at this point, I feel really wiped out. I've been told that today we'll probably do physical therapy in the next hour and breakfast, and at some point today we'll transfer over to a skilled nursing facility rehab center. And I'm not sure how long I'll be there, but I'm pretty wiped out today. I think I need to tell people not to visit me because I'm just too tired. And so I'm going to try to sleep a little bit more before physical therapy comes. Not optimistic I'll get much sleep before he gets here, but I'm really tired.
The thing that determined when I left the hospital wasn't my doctor, but my insurance. The hospital felt I needed more time because I was very nauseous and struggling to keep food down and struggling with pain. But my insurance disagreed. Bless their hearts. 3.5 days post-amputation, I was abruptly informed that my time was up and I was being transferred to a rehabilitation center right that minute. The van was literally waiting in the parking lot for me. I barely had time to swap my hospital gown for some street clothes before I was whisked away for the next chapter of my recovery journey.
Okay, I would have liked to film one more video of what it was like finishing up at the hospital and transferring to rehab, but they kind of pulled me out so abruptly. I didn't get even a minute to film, say goodbye to the hospital. So sorry that's an abrupt ending. I'm in rehab now. I'll make a video about that and each phase of this recovery period.
Not all amputees go to a rehabilitation center after the hospital. Next week, I'll be putting out a video about what factored into my decision and what it was like there. If you're facing amputation right now, please know it gets better. If you've watched this whole video, you're probably in the thick of it, but the pain won't stay this intense. Your limb will heal and you'll adapt to a new norm. What that new normal is like varies person to person, but I believe it's still more than possible to live a life well worth living. So hang in there. You can get through this.